Podcasts on UNCTV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Barry Smith of M2Mpolitics.com joins us. Big turnover, historic turnover, you said.
Right.
The state Senate is going Republican for the first time since 1898. Who are the players involved? Who will be in charge come January?
It's looking like Phil Berger, who has been the minority leader of the Senate for the past several years from Rockingham County. He is probably the odds-on candidate. You know, they will actually meet later to officially vote on that and pick that. And formally, that won't happen until the first day of the legislative session, which will be toward the end of next January, because that person is actually elected by all the senators. That's going to leave, you know, Mark Bassnight, who has been the president pro tem since the early 90s, you know, that's going to leave him in the minority. And so we're going to have to see how his role plays out in that. Over in the House, we're really not sure yet. I found it kind of interesting. A few weeks ago, I was at a political function, or it was actually hosted by one of the candidates, and the Republican Party chairman, State Chairman Tom Fetzer, was commenting. He said, you know, Republicans win the Senate, it'll be Phil Berger. If Republicans win the House, then the House Republicans will pick the new speaker.
Right now it's Paul Stam, the Wake County Republican,
Right.
is the minority leader.
He's the minority leader. You hear Tom Tillis from Mecklenburg County's name mentioned a lot.
Why would you hear his name mentioned?
Well, you've heard it mentioned for a long time.
Paul Stam has been there.
He's been there. They're both in the Republican leadership. You know, it may be that, hey, one has the time, one doesn't have the time. It may just come down to jobs and who can do it and who can't. This job takes a lot more time.
Everything I'm seeing is this is very important in terms of redistricting. Redistricting is an intense issue. It's a very deep issue.
They're constitutionally required to redraw the boundaries of the legislative district, also the congressional districts, but you know, the legislative districts are what we're talking about right now.
Would the Republicans tweak around the edges of the current districts, or will they go for wholesale change?
Well, they have to, constitutionally, they have to follow the county boundary lines as much as possible and still meet federal stipulations, Voting Rights Act stipulations. You cannot dilute minority voting strength. You cannot, you can only vary from one man, one vote by, you know, a small percentage amount. You can't have, you know, 100,000 in one district and 50,000 in the district next to it. A couple of ways this could go. Republicans have in the past, a lot of Republicans and many of them in leadership, have commented on, pushed for, introduced bills that would establish an independent redistricting commission that would kind of take it out of their hands and maybe appoint 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats and 1 independent. I know one state does it like that. And hey, let's come up with a way that's going to be fair.
Take the politics out of the politics.
Right.
Okay.
It's hard to do. It's a political animal. You know, you're telling political animals not to be political animals. But we'll see. I mean, constitutionally, they're not required to do that. Some states, constitutionally, I think they're required to.
Looking to January 2011, what will the atmosphere be at the legislature? It's
going to be a lot of excitement among Republicans who are, you know, in the House. They've actually had majorities in the House before. There are people there who are going to be coming back, who were committee chairmen under a Republican speaker. The Senate, you know, they got to within a couple of seats one time back in the early 90s, or I think the 94 election. They have never been in that situation.
And no one's alive that has
seen
a Republican
That's
lead
true.
the Senate.
That's true.
Was this the work of Phil Berger in the Senate and Paul Stam in the House, their leadership? Did Tom Fetzer come in a couple of years ago and do such a great job?
Mr. Fetzer did do a lot. He was very active. He kept Republican issues, he gave them a high profile. He's been doing that for the last year or so. I think you also had leadership within the House and within the Senate who had been working not just the past 90 days. They have been working to recruit candidates. In the Senate, the Republicans recruited a candidate for every district, all 50. I think one of them dropped out.
And they don't do that. They haven't done
Right.
that historically every election
Right.
cycle.
Yeah, a lot of them they lost. A lot of them they didn't come close in. But, you know, at least there was something there that the Democrats in those districts at least had to pay some attention to.
Which meant spending money.
Which meant spending some money. Again, they recruited strong candidates. Many of them were rematches from 2 years ago where it was a Democratic wave year and Democrats won, but not by huge margins. And so, you know, a little bit of a shift here or there, and you got a Republican elected.
Barry, you've done a lot of work with M2Mpolitics.com, spearheading that effort.
It's a new media venture that Freedom Communications has taken on. We look at politics from Manio to Murphy. That's where the M2M comes from.
Is it legislatively inclined and focused?
Focuses
like a
on the
laser? Do
legislature.
you venture off into congressional races, presidential?
We do have some stuff on that. We'll be focusing on the politics of the legislature coming up the next session, how it relates to the governor. I mean, you know, all these, how it relates to the courts. We're going to be covering that, but the focus of it is covering the legislature and the legislative races from Manio to Murphy.
Well, Barry, it's good to have you on the show tonight. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us on the historic 2010 elections.
Thank you.